If you're someone who has trouble applying the law of assumption in order to help you consciously manifest, then this video is for you because I see this very common roadblock to people who are having trouble believing in their assumptions. I want to address this, okay? So first, what is the law of assumption? If I can sum it down into one sentence, it is that whatever you assume to be true will be true, okay, for you. And what is an assumption, though? What are you assuming? What does that actually mean? The definition of assumption essentially means that it's something that you believe in without evidence or proof. That's essentially what an assumption is, right? I'm assuming something without knowing or seeing anything in front of me. Now, I want to dive deeper into this because a lot of people stop at this stage and they're like, okay, yeah, like I assume this to be true, even though I can't see it in front of me, right? But do they really believe in their assumption? And here's the thing. Your assumption is based on your identity, your state of being. I've talked about this a lot, but I'm not going to go too deep into that today. What I want to talk about is what's the evidence or proof that you're looking for to satisfy you so you can believe your assumption. That evidence or proof often comes in the form of something that's detected by your 5 physical senses: your sight, your hearing, your smell, your taste, your touch, right? So a lot of people will say, I need to see this in front of my eyes before I can believe it. What is a belief? It's just a thought that we keep repeating. It becomes a belief. And a belief that we believe without evidence or proof, what we can see or hear or taste, touch, smell, is an assumption. But the reason why people have so much trouble in assuming things is because they can't let go of the idea that there is no proof or evidence in the 3D external reality for them to rely on. But of course, if they did have this proof, then that wouldn't be an assumption to begin with. And as we know, to consciously manifest and to assume things to be true, you need to know that that is who you are before that has taken place, right? That is essentially what it is. Whoever you are right now, your experience is going to be reflected in the 3D external reality. This is how we consciously manifest. It's always coming based on our internal state. The problem, the roadblock, what trips a lot of people up is they choose to let the 3D out there evidence that they see dictate how they feel, dictate their assumptions. But those are not assumptions. What people are doing when they are thinking that they're assuming things is they're taking in evidence from the 3D physical plane and thinking that those are their assumptions. Those are not assumptions. Because if you have proof or evidence that you think is proof or evidence from the 3D, that belief is not based, that's not an assumption that you have. And what exactly is this evidence or proof anyways? These 5 senses are going into our brain, our signals. It's all a perception. It's a perception on how we perceive these senses, how we interpret these signals, and how we exist from our source state consciousness in this reality, right? Our perspective can change. It's relative to other things. So I want you to stop thinking about assumptions based on 3D physical evidence because it's not an assumption. What is actually an assumption is trusting and knowing something that you cannot actually see in the physical 3D plane yet or at all. And eventually, yes, it can pop up because you've assumed it for so long. But that is no longer really an assumption, if you really think about it, because you have evidence for it now, or what you deem as evidence for it, right? But at the end of the day, it's all a wash anyways, because it's this creation, consciousness, reality. It's just a reflection of our internal state. So I'm not going to get into that. But essentially, this hopefully will help those of you who have trouble applying the law of assumption. It's like, just know and trust. You know, we all say, decide and know. It's just certain. You don't need to believe it in the 3D circumstances. You know, you don't have to see it to believe it. What do we actually mean by this? This is what it means, right? And hopefully this is going to help those of you who have trouble with believing in things before you can see evidence of it. Because if you can see evidence of it, then it's no longer really an assumption, right? Okay, I'm going to leave it there.